Thank you so much, Kristen, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. I couldn't be more excited to have this discussion with some friends of mine about a topic that we all know and care about so much, which is advisor marketing. We all know that the being a financial planner and being a financial advisor is a very tough business, but we also know that marketing of being a financial planner and being a financial advisor can often even be a tougher business. And one of the things that has always resonated with me is the as we go to different industry events and different areas around the business and have conversations, we know that advisors struggle with how to market their business and where to focus their attention and where to focus their time. So one of the things I was thinking of a while back was, okay, so if an advisor has a specific amount of time to specific amount of resources to spend, where should they spend those resources and what should they think about doing? What should they stop doing? And so I was talking to the teenage girls that take care of our house whenever, take care of our cats whenever we are out of town. And for Halloween, they went dressed up as Kiss, Marry, and Kill. And I thought, hey, you know what? That would be a good topic, good framework for a conversation around advisor marketing. So, what marketing ideas should you give a shot? What strategies and efforts should you show a little bit more love to? And what should you just stop doing altogether? Luckily for you all, we are bringing you the preeminent experts about the topic. We have Jess Flynn, who's a director of account strategy intentionally, a collection of seasoned marketing gurus helping marketing financial advisors and fintech firms maximize the value of the opportunities that they have in front of them. Samantha Russell is chief evangelist for FMG, which is the largest and leading suite of marketing tools helping advisors market their businesses and put their best face forward. Sam's energy and passion perspective are always a highlight of my scrolling through LinkedIn and scrolling through social. And then last we have Diana Cabrices, who's, see if I can get this whole thing out, fractional chief evangelist to B2B Wealthtech firms. I got it. I did it. And also a keynote speaker. You've likely seen her speaking at a conference you've attended to the last couple of years or so. She's always one of the seats. So ladies, I will ask you to turn on your camera and turn on your microphones and join us so we can begin our conversation.
Hi, thanks so much for having us. Here I am.
Of course. We love having all of you. So, as I said, we're going to start with the framework for Kiss, Marry, Kill. And so, with that, I think I'm going to start off with um, Diana. And why don't you give us your first sort of what ways would you try to wade into?
Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. Of course, I would start on mute. I would love to start, and I also think that it would be great to tell the audience what this really means in case you didn't catch it in the marketing. The KISS is what tech or what strategies you should maybe try out. The one that I'm going to share that I'm so passionate about. I just went to a conference last week, spoke to a room in front of financial advisors about. I want to give a sort of a disclaimer, I guess, because I put it under KISS, but truthfully, this should be a strategy that you completely like embrace and marry. However, not a lot of advisors have really started it yet. So it's still very new thanks to compliance rules changing. So you might be catching my drift here, but what I would recommend all advisors try out or KISS is testimonial marketing. Testimonial marketing is so important and so powerful because it is truly the way we purchase in today's day, like whether it's a restaurant or a plumber or you're looking to buy a product on Amazon, we're almost always reading testimonials, reviews. And so there's this power of social proof that advisors can lean into now that the SEC says you're allowed to use testimonials in your marketing. And social proof is, what people read about other people saying about you, it moves them emotionally to want to actually work with you or learn more about you or eventually talk to you. I have a stat here that I like to share because there's a lot of great statistics around reviews, but of course, I like to go a little bit in our industry because it is different, right? Attorneys, doctors, they rely on reviews heavily. But with financial advisors, it's still so new. However, it is happening. The stat is around 81% of people in a local survey about a year ago said that looking at reviews when hiring in financial services is important or very important to them. So that is coming in our industry. It's really already here, and the 1,500 or so advisors we have on Wealthtender who have reviews have gotten really awesome results. Like, people are advocating for them. And so I like to say a review is a scalable referral. It's a way for people to tell everyone on the internet how great you are, not just one person that they know as a referral, which is how most advisors grow, but now you're digitizing that story and you're spreading it across the internet. And I don't know how long you want me to go on for. I have so many notes about it. If you want me to stop there, I will, but there's a few more things that I could get into around compliance and what might be on some people's minds.
So Sam, how does that hit you? What's your view on sort of, which is a new territory for testimonials?
I couldn't be more in agreement. I have been also, Diana and I have talked about this offline. We've also been telling people to get them for a while. I like to think of it like I wouldn't even buy a pair of jeans without reading reviews at this point, because when I'm online shopping, I just don't want to deal with, buying something and having to go return it. I cannot imagine, entrusting someone with my entire financial life without wanting to read reviews. Of course, a lot of advisors will say, well, that's what the in-person referral, is. But there's a lot of people who are not asking their friends about who their advisor is in the next gen. They just want to go online and find it. And even those who are, okay, so your friend Rachel says this advisor is great. What do other people say? You want to hear those other experiences, and social proof, as was mentioned, is just so, so important. And we believe what other people have to say about somebody more than we believe what that person says about themselves. So someone lands on your website and it says, we treat you like family and trust and honesty are the utmost important. Well, that really doesn't mean much, honestly, because it's coming from you. How do we know it's not just sales talk? So I'm all on board with this strategy.
Diane, what is and the rules have changed. How would an advisor even begin the process to go to their clients and say, can you write a review? Like how does that begin?
Yeah, there's a whole playbook on this, and it's actually going to be easily downloaded by your phone. You can scan it at the end of the QR code that I provided for everyone. But step one is to talk to compliance, whether that's you as an advisor, you are your own compliance officer.
Generally a good process to start
Yes,
there.
yeah, usually go to your compliance first. But when you actually get it rolling, like the first step is to send an email out to all of your clients to ask them for a review. That way the SEC doesn't think you're cherry picking and only selecting your top favorite clients. You have to ask everyone. Once you start getting those reviews in, you have options. You have technology that's built for the advisor to help you, like Wealthtender, or you can also just go to your website developer and say, hey, take these reviews. Here's the disclosures we need to add alongside them. Get them on my website. Which I would argue with something so touchy around compliance, I think advisor tech is an amazing pathway for advisors to lean into testimonial marketing, but you have to add disclosures. So that's the triple C. It's client. Is this person a client or not? Compensation. Has this person been compensated or not? And conflicts of interest. Is there any conflicts of interest in the relationship? Like, I don't know, you used to date, or, you went to school together, something along those lines.
What's my brother-in-law? Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. That has to live within the review itself and the four corners of the review. It has to be the same text size as the review. Once you have that, now you can take that review and run with it. Social media, create little fun graphics. You could put it on your website. You could put it in your newsletter, in your email signature. You could print little flyers for your office that spotlight a client with their face on it or your face on it, and the review and the 5 stars. Of course, whenever you're sort of picking out little reviews to promote here and there, you do need a link back to all of the reviews. And that's something that we do for advisors at Wealthtender. But I could go on and on. Again, I just gave a presentation on this last week. Every advisor in that room was raising their hand, sharing their experience or asking questions or even sharing their doubts. Like, well, what about negative reviews? What do I do about those? And there's so much to say on the topic. But if you haven't started testimonial marketing yet, I highly encourage you to talk to your compliance officer and get rolling with the strategy. And again, I have a playbook for you at the end of the session today you can download.
Awesome. So we've got task one. So Sam, I want to switch to you. So what is your Because I think you're right. We can have a whole conversation on testimonials, and we should probably do so at some point. But Sam, what is your KISS concept of sorry? Where should somebody maybe lean in a little bit more?
Yeah, so switching gears a little bit, thinking about social media. So I get asked daily, how do I grow on social media? Are any advisors actually seeing ROI from it, getting clients from it? You know, it's something we see a lot of advisors, they post content and then nothing happens. They have a few hundred followers or connections. They don't really have a strategy. Like if I asked all of you here today if we could see you, how many of you know what you're posting, you know, later this week, next week, right? A lot of people have no idea. They just, if they have time, they do it. And so that lack of consistency becomes a real issue. The other thing is they don't actually go into the social media apps and engage with other people. And so that's what my KISS strategy is to do something that I call the 80-20 rule, which is that every morning, or at least 4 or 5 times a week, right? You open up whatever platform it is that you're trying to grow on. So whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, you're going to go there and you're going to leave comments on 5 other accounts posts before you even, you know, think about your own post. And the reason this is so crucial is because if you think about it, if someone leaves a comment on your post, you've probably seen this in, you know, if you're on Facebook or your LinkedIn, you can see something like Ryan George commented on this, and it might be, you know, John Smith, who I don't know John, but now I'm like, oh, what did John post? And I might click it, and it basically brings visibility to posts that you might not otherwise see. So that's number one. It's going to really, really 10x your visibility. But number two is when you then go to post something, because of reciprocity and how our brains work as humans, people who you always leave comments on are going to say, oh, I should leave a comment on Ryan's post because he's always posting or commenting on mine. And the more comments you get on a post, the more the algorithms will pick it up and the more people that will see it. And so comments are really the currency of social media, right? But none of this matters if that's, you know, your end goal. We don't really care about how many people see a post. What we want is people to say, who's Samantha Russell, and click over to my profile. Now see all the content that I have, and maybe want to follow me or go to my website, or, you know, learn more how I can help someone like that. That is how you unlock growth and ROI through social media. So again, the 80-20 rule, what it really means is for every one thing you post, you're leaving comments on at least 5 other people's posts. And a lot of times people will say, well, maybe they started this strategy and they're not seeing much in the beginning. A big hack of it is you don't want to just leave comments on all your best friends' posts, right? You want to go and find the accounts you want to notice you or the areas you want to grow in. So if I'm an advisor that works with a lot of physicians, I want to be leaving comments on the White Coat Investors page, or maybe a hospital group that has a lot of followers, or you can find groups within social media that have pages and try to join them and leave comments there. So again, really shifting to constantly being focused on what are you posting, and instead, how are you engaging with other people? This 80-20 rule can make a massive difference, and it only needs to take a few minutes a day.
Yeah, that's great. Jess, when was the last time you left a comment on somebody's LinkedIn post? I'm gonna tap
Yeah,
you right now.
it's a personal testimonial right here because I know that strategy works because I employed it for several years, especially during COVID when we were all kind of trapped. And it felt like it was a way to reach out to people, and it does exponentially grow. And so even though you might not see traction in the first even 2 months, all of a sudden you'll start to see your network is really expanding, and it will continue at that rate. So I highly recommend that as well.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of it feels good to comment and to provide input to somebody who's putting themselves out there and putting a thought out there. And I think I just think there's something that even makes yourself feel good. So even if just you get your own little puff of endorphin or whatever when you comment on somebody or congratulate them on closing a deal or getting a new job or doing something like
Yeah.
there's a definite benefit to it.
And one other tip, you know, there's a lot of people who work with people in, again, certain industries. You can filter to find those people And do not be afraid. If you've never commented on a stranger's post before, you are doing social media wrong. That is where the growth happens, right? So I know an advisor I was coaching, and he was working with Microsoft employees. So we walked through how to filter, find all these Microsoft employees, and then he would just go through and look through all their posts. And he wouldn't be disingenuous about it, but rather than sending a DM saying, "Hey, I'm an advisor that works with Microsoft employees. Would you like to, meet with me?" If they posted something, he could leave a comment that just sparks a conversation. And then when they go click over to his page and they see he's talking about all of these things that are relevant to them, more than likely they're going to follow him or connect with him just to start seeing his content. It's a very warm sales process.
Yeah, you're investing in spheres of influence and in influential like things that people like. I don't. We're running a little bit of time on this section, but so Jess, I want to make sure you get your because your strategy is a similar type of engagement approach, which is trying to get really embed yourself in sort of a community. So why don't you share with us sort of what your approach was?
Okay, so for those who are, social media'd out, or maybe you already have the social media stuff kind of under, wraps, and you're moving for like the next big thing, I don't want to forget multidimensional marketing. And one of the things that a lot of advisors maybe feel more comfortable doing, or it just speaks to them, it's more natural, is to get involved locally in their community, because that does what social media does, but you're doing it in your hub. So if you're not based, especially like you don't have clients all over the US, you're really focused in your community, this is a way where you can get involved in your passions. So diving into, maybe you're really into art, or you're really into giving back. You've got some things in your family history that you really want to support. So like the MS Society or something. When you start to look a little beyond sort of the financial services sector, you can really immerse yourself and find new connections within another community that you're very passionate about. And then as you start to infuse and get to know these people, you're very authentic. You're building trust. You're going to find one or two people who likely are going to recognize your what you have to offer as an advisor. And with that trust connection, you can start to build a relationship. So for those who are not as excited about going digital or social media, or they don't need to spend more time focusing on that, this is another tool in your marketing kit to kind of dive into. And the summer is an awesome time to do it because there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, I think post COVID. So we talk about COVID. I do think the human element of that interactivity and engagement within those around you, I think, can actually have a good tail effect for that as well. And again, in addition to other things that are doing, because I do think people from what I heard from all three of you answers is authenticity, giving back, engagement. I mean, even transparency to testimonial point, Diana. Like, I mean, all these things are things that we all would probably equate and align with sort of general fabric of a financial planner or a financial advisor anyways, right? These are reasons that they got into the business, because they are authentic and they are transparent and they do want to give back. So, hey, Kristen, why don't you, so let's get the poll. So for the audience, who do we think gave the best answer? And while we do that, I want to
Oh
give
God.
Jess,
I was
I
going to
want to
say,
give you
geez,
your,
Ryan, just way to put us on the
Gosh.
spot here.
hey, everybody's going to get a trophy. I promise. They're in the mail. But Jess, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what Intentionally does?
Yeah, so Intentionally is a collection of marketing experts. We were founded by Kelly Waltrick, who was the CMO of Orion and eMoney. So we have a really deep history in the financial services sector, and we've amassed a team that has a variety of capabilities. Outsourced CMO is a big part of the work that a lot of us do, but we also have sort of the outsourced marketing team capacity. We do fractional SDR work as well. So the connection between sales and marketing is so vital today to growth. And so we're going into a lot of firms and helping them digest and understand how their data actually translates into growth in revenue. And then we also do a lot of project-based work. So we have retainers and we have projects. We have a ton of people, and a lot of our clients are in the financial services space. So yeah, it's a really fun place to work, actually.
It's good. I've been able to see Intentionally grow step by step over the past couple of years, and it's been great. But it's been great to see, having a number of friends who work there and a number of contacts who work there to see the progression. I'm really proud of the work y'all are doing. And I definitely know some proud clients that have worked with y'all. So great job over there. If you're interested in intentionally, check out their website. And Jess can help you out as well as anyone else on the team.
It's also our 3rd year anniversary today.
Oh,
We planned that out. We planned that out. That was part of that's why we scheduled today. All right, well, let's switch to the marry concept. So the marry concept was similar to the kiss, except that sorry, don't want to forget the poll. Winner of round 1 is Samantha. But the marry concept is something that I think is important too, which is, again, in a world of defined resources, where should you really go deep and try to invest that extra time and invest those extra resources? These are things that you're likely already doing, but maybe you need to lean in a little bit more than maybe you're doing today, or try to come up with, to Samantha's point, a more comprehensive strategy really around that. And with that, Samantha, I'll give you the first run up. Sort of, what is your sort of marry approach from a marketing strategy standpoint?
Yeah, so this one is something that a lot of people say they do, but what I find is they don't do very well, which is email marketing, specifically drip emails. So, emailing on prospects over time and also clients over time. We at FMG teamed up with Wide Charts last year, and we ran a study we just released at the beginning of this year. And we found that in the last 18 months, 3 out of 4 of the people who responded to this survey either switched advisors or said they thought about switching advisors. And the number one reason was because of lack of communication. And the results were so surprising, actually, that Sean Brown, the CEO, was like, we have to run this again. I think this is wrong. So did the survey again, same exact, very similar results, which just reiterated that it was exactly on point. So what this means is that, so many of you sitting here probably would nod your head yes if I said, have you ever had a new client come in the door and say, I'm here because I never hear from my advisor. I hear from them very, very infrequently. But yet, if I say, have any of you lost a client because of that? Most people are like, no, that's never happened to me. So both cannot be true. But let's think about how do we, use communication and email to both keep the clients we have and to get new clients. And it's pretty simple, honestly. It's one of the things we are really well known for at FMG, especially through our new program we've done in the last, almost been 2 years, Do It For Me marketing, which is you get people in groups. So you break up your clients into groups in your CRM, and then you email them relevant, timely content, your client specifically, on a cadence that works for you. For a lot of people, it's weekly. For some people, it's monthly. And then for your prospects, so many people think all about lead gen. They get these leads in, and then they immediately go to selling them. They don't keep nurturing them by sending them relevant, interesting information that just shows their expertise. So email marketing is the thing that, if we look at what is an ROI for what you're doing, it consistently comes up as one of the best ways to generate, people booking time on your calendar. And, if we think about the time and the cost for it, it's pretty minimal. And it's something you can really outsource. We do it all the time for clients. One of the things people love best about both the clients and advisors we work with too is if, news breaks, we can write something within 24 hours that you can then send out. And I really highly suggest timely is the key here, right? So a lot of people have newsletters and they're just sending market commentary that nobody reads. But if instead you say, hey, I know all over CNBC this week has been this news story, and here's why you don't need to worry about it. Or here's why, only you who are in X situation, we're going to talk about it in your next meeting. That is going to be a much different email communication that people will pay attention to. So email for sure.
Essentially, that's what you're describing just in that last example is basically a way to reach out to a client and say, look, you're in good hands. I've got it, basically. And we'll address this with.
I think the issue is that most people are not doing it at scale. They are either sending one-offs or not doing it at all, or what they are sending at scale, like I said, is more very generic market commentary. I can't tell you how many people who send out a newsletter every week or month and it just says your weekly newsletter or Russell Investments weekly newsletter.
Yeah.
It's much better to make the subject line something people are going to want to open, give them a preview of what it's about, for instance. So that's mine.
Diana, how does that hit with you? I think it's probably something you definitely align with.
Oh, totally. Yeah, from the time that I spent at Snappy Kraken, I mean, this was something we focused on heavily was, advisors are not communicating enough with their clients, and one simple scalable way to do that is through email marketing. And completely agree with Samantha about the timeliness. Those are always the best performing emails, the highest open rates, the highest response rates. People like timely information. It's why people love watching the news. And so you're kind of being that news source for your clients, and that just goes even beyond the needing to communicate with them. It also puts you in a position of trust with them, and reliability. They can rely on you for information that's relevant to them when they need it. So could not agree more. Email marketing is super important. I think if you're thinking about outsourcing it, just make sure you review the content and it, resonates with you, but also that you let the people who you're outsourcing it to call some of the shots there, right? You're not necessarily a marketer yourself. What you might think looks a little funky in an email might actually perform really well.
So you're saying let the experts be the experts. I think that giving up, control can be hard to do, especially when you
Yeah.
feel like it's your voice. But I think if that comes down to finding the right partner, right? So somebody that you can trust, who does have the experience, expertise there. You had one more, Samantha. So you also you had mentioned webinars. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I don't want to take up too much time. I'll say
You've
just
got
really
plenty of
quickly
time. Don't
that
worry.
we see time and time again that one of the best ways to acquire new leads, to get somebody to actually give up their email in order to get something that you're giving, is webinars. Because we all know in order to register, we have to give our email, right? So if you look at how they perform versus other forms of gated content, they consistently perform better. You can repurpose the content, right? So you can take the video of you talking and turn it into little clips. You can put it on YouTube. You can turn it into a podcast. And I also love these for making a much easier way for your clients to refer friends. Because think of it this way. If you send an email to all of your clients and you say, hey, is there anybody, anyone that we could help that, please pass our name along. It's probably going to be crickets compared to, we're going to do this webinar on the 5 mistakes people make when they're thinking about the best time to take Social Security. We have, 500 seats in our webinar account. So we're letting each client send this email to 3 friends. You can pick 3 friends that are going to retire soon. People will do that much more than just make that, referral that way. So it's a great strategy and I love it for a lot of reasons. And once you start it, I think sticking with it is crucial.
Yeah, I love the idea. You're talking about eventizing things, right? So sort of like instead of just, well, I get to that email, I can ignore it. If you eventize it's a little bit more. Jess, you talked about campaign. We talked about sort of coordinating campaigns. So tell us a little bit about sort of where you think people can lean in a little bit more.
Yeah, so it goes back to what Sam was saying before about having a plan and then also incorporating whatever those pieces are that you're excited about. If it is the social strategy, if it's email marketing, webinars, think about all the ways that it will work together so that at the end of the day, when you have this curated list, like we've been talking about, you're going to do something with it. And the other thing is, a lot of times we've talked about like it takes 7 touches to get somebody's attention. Today, that's more like 15 because there's so much going on. They're very easily distracted. How many times have you signed up for a webinar and then totally forgot that it was on your calendar, overbooked it, and then you're not really paying attention? So I think the other thing you have to consider is, okay, if I'm going to do a social media strategy, I still need to think about the emails that follow and precede and accompany that. But then beyond that as well, don't forget about all the things you're doing with your existing clients. So you would love to have like a plan on paper that talks about your prospect process and your current client process so that you're not neglecting anyone, because you're also leaving money on the table with existing clients if you're not consistently communicating to them. So whenever you're building your marketing for this summer, you're looking ahead and you're thinking, how can I be more tailored and targeted? Think about your tone, think about your campaign. What is it that you're pushing them to do? And every single piece of that should have a call to action affiliated with it, whether it's to connect with you again, to schedule their next call, to download a piece of content, to show up to the webinar. Every bit of that campaign should have some ask at the end of it. I see so often that people will post content on social media, but it doesn't have any real purpose, except maybe it's educational or maybe it's just a comment to something, But at the end of the day, you don't know if that's working if you're not asking them to do anything, to follow you, to give their 2 cents on something, to connect with you. So those are the things I want people to think about, more of that holistic package rather than just implementing onesie twosies here and there as they have time.
A silly question, but what would be one of those calls to action? Like, what would you, would it be to reach out to have a meeting? Like, what would be a typical request?
Yeah, so I think on social media, if you're looking at a campaign where you're like, okay, I want to get 6 or 7 new leads this summer and I really want to work through those. Okay, you're going to ask them to connect with you on social media. You might make a comment and say, hey, DM me if you want to talk about this more. Or you might say, has this ever happened to you? Blah, blah, blah. Tell a story, right? Like, I had an estate planning experience. This is what I learned. Oh, I really wish that people would have this conversation with their families earlier. Have you ever had an experience like that? I'd love to help you. Just continuing to have those conversations there. But then when they come through, if they come through as a lead, send them another follow-up DM and say, hey, let's talk about this. I have an easy checklist. I have something. So it makes sense, whatever that ask is. You're giving them something in response and you're continuing to nurture them. Maybe it is a webinar. Whatever your action is from today, build a plan around that has a CTA.
That's great. Hey, Diana, your Mary, I think is actually, I'm glad you sort of clarified that because
Yeah.
it's actually something that I think you do as well or as better as anybody I've ever seen, which is put yourself in the message and basically use your own light and your own positivity to really help market the messages that you're delivering. So tell us a little bit more about your Mary strategy.
Yeah, and I think it goes really well. It complements what Samantha and Jess have said because everything that they've advocated for in this section has been around content, and whatever that looks like. It's a webinar, it's a campaign, it's an email, and this is really important. So you can take all these pieces and bucket it into this sort of content marketing bucket. If you ever heard the term, it is your story that you're telling essentially, and how you're getting people to sort of move through the journey with you from I just found this advisor online, or maybe we met in person, I started looking at their social media, to now, okay, I'm really loving this content, this is perfect for me, to now I really want to reach out to this person. But I think content marketing is a really big bucket to just throw at you and say, marry this. It is important though. Again, it's your story that you're telling. And I think what I like to do is take the angle of humanized content marketing. I think is the best way to market your business. One of the best ways to market your business is to really put yourself front and center of your brand and your marketing. And so what do I mean by that? Video, audio, photos, your story, how you're different from the advisor down the street, and how you've actually helped other people, other clients with very specific situations that they had, right? So there's a lot of storytelling and there's a lot of bringing your face and your voice into your marketing. One of my favorite quotes, and it's something that I have just held so close to myself when I show up in the world, and since launching my own business at Diana Cabrices Consulting, is if you can't get in the media, be the media. And so if you're an advisor thinking, oh man, I wish I could get on Yahoo Finance, or I wish I could get on Bloomberg, like, you don't have to. You just need to actually show up and create the content yourself, and you control the narrative. You control the story that you want to tell. An easy tip here, maybe easy is not the right word, but a tip here to think about how can I show up more, let's say on video or audio, just recording yourself if you're not a video person, is thinking about some of the most frequently asked questions that you're getting from your clients, you're getting from prospects, or even just going online. You could literally use ChatGPT. I did it yesterday, and I asked ChatGPT, what are the top 10 most frequently asked personal finance questions on Reddit? And Reddit is a very popular forum. I use it all of the time when I'm looking at information, like what city I'm going to move to next. But it's a very popular place where consumers are asking questions about their personal finance situations. And so ChatGPT spat out some answers to me yesterday. And how should I prepare for retirement? What should I know about buying a home? How can I improve my credit score? What credit cards should I get? Like, there's so many really good questions here that you can then record yourself asking the question, providing an answer to, and posting it on your social, getting it on your website. Whether you want to use YouTube or not is totally up to you. But here's what happens when you have this sort of humanized content is people can really form that relationship with you digitally. Emails are incredibly important, and so is going in your local community. Nothing can replace text, right? Like if you're writing an email or you're writing a blog, that's wonderful. It's going to help with SEO, all those great things. But if you're getting on camera and people can like feel your energy and see you, that's a totally different story. It's just as if we would have turned this whole webinar into a blog. How many of you would probably still be engaged 10 pages down the blog? You probably wouldn't be. So it's really infusing your energy and your voice, your face into your brand. The last thing I'll say, because I just gave a keynote on this topic, and the keynote was called the relatability factor. And the thesis of the keynote was people buy from people, not businesses. Right. So being relatable, this is your superpower as an advisor. And if you want to scale your growth digitally, you can, but try to think about doing it in a way that really puts yourself front and center, that allows you to tell your stories, control that narrative, and lets people form that relationship with you before they even meet you.
That was very, very well put. I couldn't agree more. If I'm coming from a tech side, Samantha, I'm sure you're like it's the people that sell we provide technology, but we sell ourselves, right? We sell the support, we sell the people that what partnership we're working with. The technology just becomes the commodity. So imagine in the advice space, it's very similar.
I just want to add really quickly, there's an advisor on Twitter. His name is Cody Garrett, and he inspired me this week because he is starting to record his meetings, his client meetings, and he's using that as content to put out there to the world of potential clients to see like these are the problems that I'm solving with my client. And you can see him, you can see his client on the video. And I've never seen that before. And I thought that was really
Pretty
cool. So
bold.
maybe you don't, right?
I was
Like
going to
it's
say, you've
bold.
never seen it because most compliance will X that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you
Well,
can do it, it's wonderful.
and that's what he said. He said compliance wasn't actually as much of a headache as people would think. And so I thought that was interesting because I was reading all the comments about compliance. And again, like if you maybe don't want to put yourself front and center because you're nervous, like that's a really good way to do it. You're already having these meetings, and just an interesting angle there.
Awesome. Hey, well, Kristen, why don't you put up the poll for this section? And while we do that, Diana, tell us a little bit about your business that you said you're Cabrices Consulting.
Yeah, so I am super passionate about humanized content marketing because that's exactly what my business is all about. I help my clients put their brands front and center by positioning the brand as, a true educator, putting a person behind it with engaging humanized content. So I actually serve as an outsourced chief evangelist to my clients, and I create a lot of video for them. I do a ton of storytelling. I take testimonials and put them front and center. I go to conferences, speak on stages for my clients. Today, I currently only do this for technology and solutions brands that serve financial advisors. So that's sort of my intersection here with the work that I do with advisors is I kind of work with you through the technology lens and the solutions providers lens, helping you grow your business through marketing, through branding, through technology. Super passionate about it. I don't know, ever since I was a little girl, I've always felt to be a bit of a performer. I won my first public speaking award at the age of 7. And I think back to that and I was like, oh my God, I was so meant to do what I'm doing today. So I love what I get to do. And if you want to follow some of my work, if you're thinking about growing your technology or solutions brand, or even if you're an advisor who's interested in hearing some of the education that I put out on different ways you can grow through these lenses, you can follow me on YouTube. I have a channel up and running, and it's youtube.com/@Diana Cabrices. And also here you have the QR code to download that free testimonial marketing playbook that we talked about earlier.
Awesome. Yes. Just for the record, I'm still looking for my first public speaking award. So I'm a few years behind yours, but we're working on that. But no, it's great. I do think you, like you said, the one question I had on the videos I meant to ask before. So often if I'm new to recording a video, do I do a script? Do I just try to talk into the camera? Like, what advice do you have there?
Yes. Okay. So you can go 2 different ways with video. I personally love a script, but I'm also somebody who can read a script and read it as though I'm not reading a script. So if you're one of those people that's going to read a script and sound a little bit robotic, I would probably just recommend some bullet points that you kind of have to the side of you or in front of you, and kind of like feeding into those as you do a video as naturally as you possibly can. If you do use the script, I highly recommend a teleprompter. I have one literally set up right behind me. If I could turn my camera around, I would, but you'd see how messy my office is behind me.
Yeah.
But I do use a teleprompter for most of my content for video, because I think it's important. But I know people who don't and do a really great job. So it's really about what you can do and how you feel the most natural.
Yeah, that finding comfortability, right? Because
Yeah.
however you feel, the camera's going to make it exponentially more so, right?
Yep.
So you can
Mhm.
expand it. Hey, Kristen, let's put the poll results up. I think I saw Samantha squeaked out another win. This is not going to be a blowout because we're going to have one more section left. Let's skip to the final section, which is the kill section, which is going to be the most fun for me because I like ragging on stuff that people do that they waste their time and money. So, Jess, why don't you kick us off? You had a good one that I think actually is more common than people think today.
Yeah, so I'm going to say buying random lists. And I say random because I think there are some good lists, most likely, out there. So I'm not ragging on everything, but there are a lot of services out here that will call, track you down, tell you they have the greatest list ever. It's the list of, people who just bought a business, or people who, I don't know, are about to die. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's a
There's
list
a
that
list of people
people
who are about to
tell
die?
you.
No way.
Like people who are, have so much money and they must need a new advisor. And so you're buying this list, you're paying, I don't know, $30,000, $5,000 a month or something, and you're getting this list serve. And really all it is a list that 1,000 other advisors and other people are attacking as soon as they get it, right? They're calling, they're emailing, and it really just becomes the whoever's the fastest with a text message or something, like that's going to win this client. And you have to think, if this is a multi-million dollar, generational wealth family, they are not going to sign up for your services just because you sent them a text message the day after they did some sort of business transaction. That's just not the way it's going to work. And so I am a non-advocate of lists. I was on a fintech board of a startup that was trying to be like a text message, quick response service for some of these lead generating platforms that are out there. And at the end of the day, it just becomes commoditized, and it's not a way to build trust. It is kind of a gross way to start a relationship as well if you're attacking someone via text message. So I think, like, if we could pick a better way to spend our dollars, it would be almost anything else. It would be my recommendation. So try anything else we talked today.
Diana, Samantha, what do you think about that? How do you feel about lists?
I would rather, if you're really trying to just find people based on attributes, I'd much rather go and use social media filters and find them and engage the way I mentioned before than sending them an email or text for all the reasons that just outlined.
I don't know what it is. Something about a text feels intrusive to me. Like now, like we get, like if you're registered to vote, a lot of the politicians are using, or PACs are using text messages more. And
Yeah.
for some reason, it seems to me more of like, no, stay out of my space. Like I'm not as
Mhm.
about that with my
Mhm.
inbox. For some reason, the text message, it's like, no, this is
Mhm.
personal. So don't spam me with your stuff.
I agree and I disagree. And here's where I agree. I think the majority of wealth holders feel that way, myself included. I mean, I have some wealth, but like higher net worth or even boomer generations, like that's not their thing. But like Gen Z up and coming in the next 10 years, I think that's very much their thing, is they'd probably rather get a text than an email that they're not really opening or checking. So I think it's something to think about for the future. But the buying lists, absolutely not. Like, I think that is a waste of money unless you like have some really freaking awesome sales process and a really good SDR on the front lines to like do some really catchy things. Like cold emailing is not easy. I got one the other day about my YouTube, which I'm still learning a lot about YouTube, and I probably only have 30 videos on there today. But he sent me this entire report about my SEO score and this and that, and he like went really deep, and I replied to it because I was like, this is actually really good. Could you help me? How much do you cost?
Yeah.
But most advisors don't have somebody in their corner doing that. And so, yeah, I agree.
So they actually offered something of value to you, which then caught your attention, right? So that I
Yeah.
think is a next level down, which is what Samantha was talking about earlier, which is, diving down the niches. Well, Dinah, you're up next. Why don't you give us your sort of what should they stop doing?
Okay, there's like two things just kind of swirling in my head right now. I'll make this quick. But the first is stop buying technology or services without asking the right questions. I am actually a huge fan of outsourcing a lot of marketing because marketing is like one of the most complex things. It's huge. It encompasses so many different areas of your business. Even professional marketers don't know how to do all aspects of marketing. We just don't. We usually kind of go to one corner or one side and say, this is kind of my thing, just like me with video and humanized content. But marketing is operational, marketing is strategy, marketing is execution. It's so many things. So when you outsource, I really want you to start asking better questions. And so, when advisor outsources, they get really distracted by like the shiny bullet, like, oh yeah, I need that and I should be doing this. And yeah, that sounds great. But you have to think about marketing in the lens of the marketing funnel. There's the top of the funnel, which is creating distribution. This is where people who don't know you yet are sort of hanging out and they're open to, get exposure from you, right? Or vice versa. Then you have the middle of the funnel, which is, all right, now they've seen my work or they've, liked a post or they know who I am. Now I need to move them down that funnel with some good content. And then you have bottom of the funnel. What I've seen time and time again is advisors purchasing solutions that don't actually create new distribution for them. And so they start using it and they're like, oh my God, I've been using this thing for 12 months and I barely have any results. Well, what was your starting point? Did you have 10 people on your email list or 15 people on your email list? Did you have nobody? And like, how do you think that's going to work for you if there's no new distribution, new pipeline being created? So stop not asking the right questions, start asking the right questions, which is your tool going to create distribution for me or not? And if it's not, that's fine. It doesn't mean it's not a great tool. I'm sure it's a great tool, but you need to make sure you complement it with a tool that is going to do that or a process that is going to do that. For example, at White Glove, one of my clients, one of the things that we do really well is creating distribution. So we put you front and center with brand new people who've never met you before on a webinar or at a seminar in person. And then you can go and use whatever tools you want to engage with them, like an FMG, for example, or one of our, nurture and engage email systems. But that's kind of what I mean there, right? Connecting the dots and making sure you're not excluding any part of the funnel when you outsource. That was a lot to be said. The last thing I want to say really, really quick is design. I think so many more advisors could stand out in their market if they stop looking like other advisors. And I say this with so much respect because branding is not easy and you're a financial advisor, you're not a designer, but there are so many talented design people out there on Upwork in our industry. And Josh Passler, for example, is one. I think there's another one, Trayton, I can't remember his last name, but really cool design goes a long way. It does help people trust you more because they get to your site or they get to your materials or they just see your brand and they're like, this guy's really cool or this person's really cool, unlike anything I've ever seen from a financial advisor. So don't discount that, stop trying to look like what other advisors look like. You don't have to be stuffy or professional or even use the mountaintops or the Compass logo. Like go beyond those bounds and do something unique and it will pay off for you.
That ties into what you said before about sort of humanizing and showing your own sort of true identity, true personality. Because design is a part of that too. Like if you, have a certain style, let that style sort of flow through your, the appearance of your firm or the appearance of how you show up.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Samantha, you had some good ideas too. I would love to hear just sort of what should advisors stop doing now?
Yes. So I had written down a few things, but I had a conversation yesterday that reminded me of something that's so foundational before we do any other marketing that so many people still get wrong. So I'm going to start there instead. I was going to talk about SEO and paid ads because for most firms, they throw all this money at it and it doesn't do anything for them. And there's a lot of reasons why. But instead of even going down that far, the number one thing I want you to all stop doing is in your messaging, on your emails, on your website, stop talking all about yourself and instead start using you language to talk about the people you serve. I look at websites for advisors all day long, And it's always like, we've been in business for 50 years. We help clients do this. We, have a passion for whatever. It's we. And the you messaging is what resonates with people. The more you can use case studies and talk about, Bob and Jane were this couple and this was the problem they had. And then this is how we helped them. And here is what the outcome was, right? In these hypothetical situations. Does this sound like you? And you list out, you worry about how you're going to pay for your kids and also kids schooling and also retire, and be able to do both. How are you going to care for your aging parents? How are you going to do X, Y, or Z? You talk about the pain points that the person coming to you has. So the problem the person has. Then you talk about the solution you provide. But, just leave here today. Go look at your messaging. How much of it is we or I, and rewrite it to be you focused. You can use ChatGPT to help you with this. Even that would be a great way to start. Obviously we can help you with copywriting and things like that at FMG, but that's a great place to start if you just need to get it done today. So that would be the thing I would want people to kill off. And with that, it's going to help you talk about who you help more, which is going to have the added benefit of attracting more of the right people, right? So good marketing is like a magnet. You have to repel away those that you don't want in order to attract those you do. And if you have no repelling, you're not going to have any attracting. This is going to prevent people booking time on your calendar who you're not a good fit for. You don't have to worry about that anymore because your messaging is very specific.
Yeah. No, you talked about the websites. I mean, you see the websites of like, here's all the stuff we offer, and it's just list all the stuff, but it doesn't connect with anything. It's just basically like a restaurant menu of services that it's very hard for somebody to understand.
Right.
Awesome. Jess, Donna, any comments on what Sam shared?
Totally agree. I've talked to advisors before, like there's been a piece in a presentation I gave on this point, and I had like a comparison slide where it was like, this is probably what's on your website today. And it's like, we do investment management, we do this, and then it was like, but how could you flip that? And it was like completely flipped on its head. And I was like, raise your hand if this is on your website. Like everybody was like they were really afraid to admit it. But I think, to Sam's point, like, I don't know. I just think we feel inclined to do that, right? Because we're trying to sell our services. But selling your services is not selling your services. If you really want to move people to that next step, you need to help them understand their transformation. And again, I love what Sam said about like talking about them more is actually going to help qualify them before they even get to your calendar. Because if they go to your site and it's like, you're a tech professional with equity stock and you need help with XYZ, we're here to help. They're like, oh, well, that's not me. Bye. But if it's like, we can help you do ABC, maybe it's very generic to everyone and it's not going to be specific enough. So love it. And it looks like the audience really loved it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a clean sweep for Sam. But one of the things I think that just popped into my head that I think is relevant, Sam, is a lot of people, especially if you have not worked with a financial professional in the past, they don't really know what the experience is like. They don't really know what to expect, what the interaction is going to be. And so an advisor on their site can paint that picture and help them explain, like, this is not only the services you're going to get, but this is the journey we're going to take together. I think it makes it much more relatable for the client or the prospective client to understand, okay, this is what I'm getting myself into. Because just the industry doesn't do the best job of explaining sort of what does it mean to work with an advisor? Like, what is his experience?
Absolutely.
Hey, Sam, before we get to the poll, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on at FMG?
Yeah. So I think I have a slide you can put up. There's a QR code there. I didn't want to just send you all to, book a demo page or something like that for FMG. We talked a lot here about giving away something of value to people that would be helpful as a way to earn trust and show them how you can help them. So similar to Diana, I have this 5 steps to drastically improve your LinkedIn profile. It's gives you the images, exactly what to do. So when you are doing that 80-20 rule we talked about, or people are looking you up, that they're going to see all the great, ways that you help people just like them, nailing your messaging, things like that. So if you scan the QR code, you can get that. And then if you want to learn more about FMG and how we can help you, there's also a link there of how you can talk with our team and get a demo. I also just put my email there. Sometimes that's easier. But ultimately at FMG, the thing we're really excited about right now is our Do It For Me program, because what we have found is, yes, our technology is great. Yes, the content we're putting out is really, really helpful for helping you to be consistent with your messaging, to send those emails regularly, to make sure your website's getting updated. But a lot of people, they don't just want the tech, they want an actual person to execute it for them. And so that's what we've developed in the last year. You have a marketing concierge that every month gives you a calendar, and they say, here's all the emails we can send on your behalf. Here's ones, right now we're running a center of influence campaign. So we can send certain emails to CPAs and attorneys that are, to basically tell them about your services for you. We have another one, a estate planning drip email that really helps bringing up the whole idea of the wealth transfer and introducing you to clients' children. So it's a great program if you're looking to really outsource more of your marketing in a much more high touch way and have someone else implement for you.
Well, that's thank you very much, Sam. And we're almost at time. I want to say, if you haven't known by spending the past hour with us, Jess, Diana, Samantha are go-to resources for any questions you have. There are companies I would highly recommend working with if it's the right fit for you. And ladies, thank you very much for playing the game with us and for joining this roundtable. I think it's lots of good insights. We'll make sure to follow all of your instructions and make sure we reshare and clip and chop this up and make sure we get it out around. But I want to thank you everyone for attending, and ladies, thank you very much for your time today. It's been a wonderful discussion, probably the best marketing discussion I've had in some time, and I really appreciate the time.
Thanks so much for having us. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone.
Please.